All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Carrie Curry. I am a secondary curriculum specialist for Tuscaloosa City Schools.
Okay. So today, Ms. Curry, I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions that deals with the development of curriculums.
Okay.
Okay. So my first question is, um, as a curriculum specialist, what programs, materials, or activities do you take part in creating?
Well, being a curriculum specialist, we are, and I am over ELA. So my knowledge is basically with just our ELA curriculum. Um, what we do use a program that is standards based. In Tuscaloosa City, we use the HMH Into Literature curriculum. Where I come in is to make sure that we are looking at standards first. So we create the pacing. We make sure that even though we might follow the HMH scope and sequence, we make sure that it's getting to the depth of those standards when we meet together to revise or work on our pacing for the next year. So we do ask our secondary teachers to I'm not going to use the word fidelity with
Mhm.
it with HMH, but we do ask that they use that program. But if they need to go deeper with certain standards, then we would ask them to do that. And we meet every spring to kind of look at next year. What do we want to do differently? Do we want to change the pacing? Is there a standard we need to cover deeper and that kind of thing?
Okay. All right. Um, what do you all typically use to assess and identify instructional improvement as it relates to curriculums?
Well, in Tuscaloosa City, again, I can speak for ELA. We ask that teachers give the what we our benchmarks, if you will, with TCS. We do use the HMH unit assessments. Now we've tweaked those. Again, we met as a literacy team with teachers and coaches and myself, and we kind of tweaked what HMH already offered. They were very lengthy. So we tweaked those unit assessments, but we do use all of TCS in secondary. 612 uses those benchmarks through HMA or those unit assessments as our benchmarks to kind of guide where each school is. We also use in middle school or 6-8, we use P2P. And they have we take 3 assessments throughout the year with P2P, and their standards align to see where they fall on on standards.
Okay. Um, would you say that the current ELA curriculum aligns to ACAP and the ACT?
I think it does. Now there it's though if you probably were to ask my teachers, they say that they're very rigorous, the HMH unit assessments. But we are now in year 4, I think, with using HMH, and each year kids are doing better and better on the unit assessments because they're very rigorous assessments. I think they are pretty aligned to how students score on ACAP. Um, we probably look as a district more heavily with P2P as that alignment to how they're going to do on ACAP. But I would venture to say that our HMH unit assessments are pretty spot on with how kids track on both of those assessments and how they will score on ACAP.
Okay. Do the teachers in the district um, have any input on developing the curriculum?
Yes, we meet every spring. I will call a committee together, um, and we like to have a representative from every grade level and every school. Sometimes I don't, that's not possible if they are, we like probably every other district in the state, we struggle with kind of keeping teachers sometimes in secondary. So there may be an instance where I just don't have an 8th grade teacher to pull from a certain school because I don't necessarily either don't have a teacher or they're brand new. But we do try to have good representation when we meet together in the spring to revise and plan curriculum for next year. So they very much have a voice.
Okay, let's switch for a moment. We're still talking about curriculum, but I want to talk about technology.
Okay.
Would you say technology is consistent across the board with the HMH curriculum? Like, does it kind of force the teachers to use technology while using the HMH curriculum, or do teachers are they still kind of able to just do their own thing?
I would think some schools rely more heavily on it than others. It has a great technology component. You could basically, use strictly assign everything on their platform that you do. But we also, when we purchased 4 years ago, that we got the consumable books as well.
Mhm.
So I would think it just depending on the grade level in school that some teachers rely on the consumable, book. Others do assign stuff through their HMH platform. We do ask that every teacher, though, any kind of testing that we do is done on the computer, so it mimics ACAP a little better. And then they also have a wonderful program called Writable through HMH. Again, probably some schools use it more than others, but it probably does vary.
Okay. All right, and we have made it to our last question.
Okay.
If there was something you could change about the current ELA curriculum, what would it be?
This is really not me, but the feedback that I get from my teachers, the secondary teachers, is the interest level of some of the passages. Some are more high interest than others. And so that is actually something that we're going to look at this spring. We're pulling them in April. Some of my high school teachers want to switch around some of the units because HMH offers 6 units. We can't get to those in a length of time. So we choose 4 units of study that they do. And so they are really thinking about maybe trying another one of the units because you don't have to go in any kind of order with HMH. You can start with unit 3, then move to 1, 6, whatever. But that would be probably what they would say is the interest level for the kids and what they're reading.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have any questions for me, Ms. Curry?
I don't think I do. It was a pleasure today.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.